And I think once folks share some of the intricacies of their financial systems, their procurement systems, et cetera, I think a lot of other states are going to find it helpful. So you're likely not alone in any challenge you're having. I can always go look for answers for you if I don't have them, which is likely going to happen sooner rather than later. But please just be open with what your needs are and don't assume that I'll get to them because I if you haven't told me, I probably don't know what they are. Um, and it's really beyond sharing your needs. It's also about sharing what is working for you because the fact that you are here means you really care about doing things well in your grant, and it probably means lots of good things are happening in your state. So we would love to hear about them. I know specifically this is grants management, sometimes a little bit drier than like, that child impact or impact on teachers, but still really important, which is why you're here. So you all are going to get a chance to meet each other in just a moment. But I wanted to start us off thinking about what happens when we come to a group like this. Everyone has chosen to be here today, and you have shown me in lots of different ways that you support each other by mentoring each other, by being there when someone needs a resource or a conversation. And so I like this quote by Brene Brown that connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. So if you could choose a word or a phrase that resonates for you today in this and share it in the chat, that would be great. Great. Thank you, Trina and Michelle. John. Yeah, great. Excellent. That was really nice to see. And for me today, the without judgment really resonates again because being honest about things that are going on internally is not always easy. And you have to feel like, um, as I said, you're not the only one, but that folks won't judge you for it. So these initial breakouts where you're going to get to know a few people who are here in our meeting. You can see on the left-hand side, the picture is of a green shoot just beginning. Looks like it's going to get a lot bigger and either provide some beauty or some sustenance for somebody. And then on the right side is a knot coming from a number of different directions. And so there are two questions when you introduce yourself. You'll share what you do for the SPDIG. And then if you could share with the group your answer to the green question, which is, beyond the numbers, what is one real, this is hard for me to say, real world outcome of this grant that you are personally excited to see happen? And then the great question is, what is one unknown or tangle about your grant's financial process that you're curious to unknot together? Now, I need one person in each room. We're going to have 3 people per room to take over opening up the whiteboard. There's 3 little dots on your Zoom dashboard on the bottom, and you'll find whiteboard. You can start the whiteboard. And if each of you could write, or you could have one note taker write at least one from each person, the financial process, or some kind of tangle going on that you're curious to unknot together. So the great question answer, if you could put that in the whiteboard in your Zoom room, that's how we can collect it and build from your needs for future meetings together. So any questions about the questions?
And just to let people know that I put those questions in the chat. Jennifer, I see a question from Rebecca asking just the gray.
You're welcome to add the green about the things you're excited to see happen. It's really nice for us to see those. The gray questions are the ones that the answers to that is what we're going to use to build our agendas for these meetings, the GrantWISE meetings. So that's why we were saying we'd like to collect those. But it is really nice to see the positive on there too. I just didn't want to give you more work. Okay. Great. Well, thanks for the question, Becky. And we will go ahead and break you out. We're going to give you 8 minutes, and you'll certainly get that 1 minute message so you know you're wrapping up.
All right, people should be able to join the rooms. If you're having trouble, look at the bottom of your toolbar. The breakout rooms look like maybe a little Rubik's Cube.
John, I think in room two, there's only two people.
Yeah, I'm working on it here. Recording again now.
Welcome back. I hope everyone, as John said, I hope everyone had a good discussion. And we look forward to hearing about what your needs are and responding to them. Um, I'm going to share some federal resource information. So these are trainings that anyone can take. They're open to the public. They have resources that take you to the various regulations, etc. As I said, it is slightly dry, but I do want to make sure we have kind of the headline information. And then I have one scenario exercise to give at the end of it. But before we get into that, let's let you know why we're here. So I'm going to share my screen. So today we are laying the groundwork first, and then the topic that was requested was procurement. So when you have subrecipients, subawards, or contracts, that process. So again, I'm going to give you the federal information, but then you're going to have breakouts and you're going to talk about the more detailed information about your environments. And then after that, we'll see what questions you still have, what you took away from that. And then I have a final budgeting resource for you for today. The purpose of why we came together, this is a result of various people in SIG Network requesting that we talk about these topics. So we've had requests about how to work with procurement, helpful resources for budgeting, assistance with APR related budget explanations, and other project management and process oriented support as needed. So you'll notice that fourth one is a really big bucket. Please do bring anything you need related to project management. Again, if I don't have the answer right away, or if the other project officers for the SPIG do not have the answer, I will find it and get it for you, and or we'll reach out to other SPIG grants to find those. So our schedule, of course, we're meeting today, March 11th, and it's the second Wednesday of every other month, and the time is 3 to 4 o'clock Eastern. Please feel free to invite anyone in your project. Here is the definition of procurement. It's the process of buying supplies or services, which makes it sound so easy. And a key thing is how fiscal expectations are communicated to subcontractors and partners. And so if you could start thinking about what your policies are, if you are at the state, at the SCA, what are your policies? How do you provide guidance from the state level? If you are not at the state, what policies and guidance have you received from the state? And or if the money is flowing through another group, say a regional office, how is that working? So for managing procurement, this is from the federal level, you must have strong internal controls and transparency. Strong internal controls means that you have defined the procurement processes, which will reduce risk and improve your financial health. You've implemented procedures for financial controls, reporting, and other procurement processes. You have clear separation of duties so that one person doesn't have too much influence. You assess the risk factors related. You ensure compliance with policies and processes, and you prevent or detect significant weaknesses in the procurement process. For transparency, you have those well-written policies and procedures that everyone has access to, clear and consistent guidance to everyone who's working on the process. You have defined roles and responsibilities. You have good communications and working relationships with the procurement personnel, and you've set expectations for stakeholders to strategically plan, implement, and manage procurements. Now, if you are one of my projects, if I'm your project officer, how many times have I asked for folks to meet with their budget staff? Like more than once, right, Ria? Every single time. And folks are good about it. Ria's great about it. But what I have found in grants, not just BDIGs, other grants, when folks don't sit down together, and it might be virtual sitting down, but you know the idea. Very regularly, bad things happen. So I had a grant, this is years ago, but I had a grant that was at a university. And the end of the year, they're like, oh, we haven't spent any money. It's like, well, how did that happen? Because you've been doing things. And it turned out that their grants office was pulling from another grant the whole year, right? So don't want that. We want to sit down. These are the numbers I have. What do you have? Why do you have that? What's going on? You want to have those communications. So continuing on managing procurement, we have authorized commitments and we have data management. So authorized commitments, we need to always have authorized commitments. Don't want to have the other kind. So there's a list of the kind you don't want. I'm not going to read them out loud. And then data management. So the effective data management systems address all phases and aspects of the procurement process. So you've got to have accurate records of your policies, procedures, and activities. You have to have that timely data. You have to have contracting, financial, and other data so that you make good procurement decisions, right? So, you know, I can think of an example. If someone's been risky before, you need to have that information available when you're making those financial decisions. And then when there are opportunities to reduce costs or if there are duplicative purchases, and to improve service levels of what's happening through the subrecipient.
Jennifer, you've got a comment or a question in
Sure.
the chat. Dr. Cooper says, isn't that illegal or incorrect to pull from another grant for another grant?
Yes. Yes, it is. I think that we're making a mistake, but if you are doing that purposely, yes, that is a problem. You would likely be considered a high risk grantee by the department at that point in time, which means significantly more monitoring and some other things that are going to happen. Of course, it's a case by case basis where we look at all the entire situation, but your grant funds must be used for your grant. Yes, thank you for the question. All right, subrecipient monitoring, subrecipient versus contract. So this is quite complicated. And if this is a challenge that your office is having, then I think it's best to have a conversation about it. A contract could be a subrecipient. So there's all this. I recommend that you take the class, the training course that's online. It only takes about 15 minutes. It goes through all this. But the contract, the thing that makes it a little bit different, they're doing something for you that they do for others. So this is, you know, it's competitive. They have this good or service for others. They're not part of your federal program typically. So it's a little bit different than a subrecipient. Like I think of subawards. Sometimes there are parent training and information centers who are subawards or subrecipients of the state. They're kind of, the money has flowed down to them regularly through various things. But again, this is a better left to training and then specific conversations. So for cash management, a couple of things, the maintaining written standards and having proper accounting principles. It really comes down to these two things. One, cash needs to be drawn. So the draw from G5 needs to happen if there are immediate needs for it to pay for, right? So it shouldn't just be drawn and then sit there. It needs to be used. And there are rules around interest. So if you have money that you are as an interest accruing account, you can keep up to $500 of that interest, and the rest needs to be remitted. For internal controls, in control environment, you do a risk assessment of the control environment. And that means looking at the checks and balances, the accounting controls, and the automated accounting system. The control environment are your administrative policies and procedures, your human resource policies, the leadership and management demonstrating ethical behavior. I do know of at least one grant where leadership was using a grant for their own purposes, not for the grant's purposes. Obviously, not ethical behavior. It was figured out, money was put back. But this is why you have conversations, why you have policies written down so that you can say that's obviously not ethical. And we have federal rules around that too, so that makes it easier. Management oversight, continuous feedback for improvement. So it's not one and done. We're always thinking about how you can improve the system. And then accountability and corrective action, which I was just talking about. Corrective action, put the money back. So here are those real quick training modules. So there's the managing the procurement process, sub-recipient monitoring, and cash management. These are the three I just used information from the course for you. So, and I just took a couple of big ideas from each. So for managing the procurement process, they have key laws, the different kinds of procurement. I highly recommend going over that. I did not cover the different types of procurement in my slides. And I did talk about the key features of a successful procurement system. For subrecipient monitoring, oh, I'm sorry. This was like the standard that was part of this slide. I accidentally didn't copy over it. So ignore for now. Subrecipient monitoring, we'll leave that open for the moment. Cash management, so you have to have the proper records controls, written procedures, or else serious consequences, and then effective cash management controls, again, including written procedure for the drawdown and disbursement of federal grant funds is essential. So these are all hyperlinks, and our event page for today will have my slides available, and you can hyperlink to it. If it would be easier to have it in the chat, I can do that when you go into the breakout too.
And Jennifer, there's a question in the chat. Is there a link for the training class that's in 15 minutes? I assume those are the links that you were just talking about.
Well, no, what is the class in 15 minutes?
I don't know. That was Dr. Cooper. Do you want to expand?
Yes.
Jan, it was the one you mentioned about having you can go take the training and it would only be about 15 minutes long.
Oh, sorry. I
Yes.
thought you said in 15 minutes. That's why I got confused. Okay. Yeah, let me just go ahead and grab these.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, no problem.
I'll put a plug in now to Jennifer that people can access your slides on the event webpage that should be posted higher up in the chat, but I'll repost it here also, and they'll be able to access your full slides now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll do it. I will. It'll take me a second just
No
from the
worries.
way my screen is, but I'll definitely get it in the chat prior to our conclusion. So discretionary grants, I'm only going to give you one exercise. So exercise one and done. For the scenario below, indicate whether the events are compliant or non-compliant with cash management policy. So if we get 20 million and then we award 25,000 to Washington Schools Teacher Preparation Program, then Washington Schools Teacher Preparation Program draws down 10,000 to pay for grant personnel salaries. And then February 18th, Washington Schools Teacher Preparation Program processes payroll for grant salaries. So the timeline is important. Is it compliant or non-compliant? I should say Washington Schools Teacher Preparation Program, compliant or non-compliant? Good. Beth got it first. Non-compliant. That's right. And Beth, do you want to talk, Beth or Laura, do you want to say what the problem is here?
It's just the order of operations. Gosh, that was a math thing, but they should have done payroll and then done the drawdown.
I think,
Or am I missing that?
I think, I think what it is that they needed to do the payroll right away.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was
there
thinking
might
do it
be,
after.
yeah. So they needed as soon as they got it. So it talks about immediate need. So yeah, I mean, there could be like an obligating money or committing money, and that's why I paused for a second. But the big idea is the the they're drawing, so it means they need to immediately use it because there has to be immediate need for the cash. So the fact that it took them a month before that they spent that money, that's the issue here.
Okay.
I have a question again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I'm new, so I'm gonna ask a lot of questions about this because this is like a yellow flag for me. But with that slide that you just had up, I heard you guys say that it should have went through payroll first. So if you had to number that in the sequential order that is supposed to be, four would be number one, and what would be two, three, and four,
Uh,
if
so
that
it's
makes
actually,
sense.
yeah, no, it's not that payroll should be first. It's that payroll
Okay,
should be right away. So it's
okay.
the fact that there's a month between drawing money down and using
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
that's the issue.
So
So January 18th, they
should
draw
have been
down.
the payroll
Payroll
portion.
should have been like January 19th, right?
Okay,
It should have happened right as soon as they got that money.
gotcha. And then it would be the Department of Treasury next, or
No, so the Department of Treasury, they gave us, I mean, I don't even know why the first one is from the course. I don't know why the first one is here. That's not really very important to you. The
okay.
important thing is that, we've given the money to Washington Schools Teacher Prep Program, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have it, and then they're drawing down money, but they're not quite ready to use it yet. So you're supposed to leave it in the account until you're actually ready to use it, is the point.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there is some superfluous information here.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully I haven't thoroughly confused folks. This is not necessarily my area of strength. And so that's why I'm saying, look, David Cardino's on here, Sung Young and Anita are on here so they can step in, and I can always go get answers for you all and send it out. All right. So the breakout questions: what procurement policies and procedures are working for your SPDIG? What is confusing, and where do you need help? So this is the discussion. We're going to have larger groups this time. It's going to be groups of 5. And it looks like we've got at least 15 minutes for you to have this conversation. So let's say 15 minutes. What questions do you all have for us before you go into these conversations? And John's going to put it in the chat as well. So you can grab the questions before you go in. No, we're good. Okay, good.
All
Excellent.
right.
So 15 minutes.
I'll go ahead and open the rooms. You all can join them, and we'll come back at 10 till the top of the hour.
Thanks, John. All right. I look forward to hearing about what you talked about. So I'm going to keep it in this version so that I can take notes. So what is working for you all? So the questions were, what procurement policies and procedures are working in your SPDIG? Let's start with that. What procurement policies and procedures are working in your SPDIG? So what's working?
So I'll go, Dr. Cooper again. So what's working, I was explaining to our group that and they agreed to, having an experienced fiscal lead helps, especially when there may be potentially new people, like myself, a
Mm,
part of the team, and not someone who's just been with a company or agency for a plethora amount of time, but they actually know the policy and procedure, and they do a really good job of checking in. So my fiscal
yes.
lead person, she's always behind my back, checking in and saying, "Hey, this is,
Yeah.
and we're moving this," and that really is reassuring, considering that I still consider myself new to the agency. So, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So and maybe some mentorship is what I heard with that too. A little bit. Okay, great. Thank you. What else is working? And Beth, I see your note. So what's working, following up with each contractor, consistent reminders to LEAs. Weekly meetings with finance person, absolutely my favorite. I still have really good memories when I was at an SEA of sitting down with Pam Williams at the time. And, back before a lot of things were automated in the same way, she'd show me what she had and we'd have the conversation. It was really helpful.
I, Jennifer, just to add to that,
Yeah.
because we were all, Dr. Cooper, Beth, and I were all in the same group, but
Yeah.
definitely having that accountability up and down. So it's not just that knowledge isn't just with the SPDIG team, it's our budget people that are above us, making sure that we're meeting with them. And so that funds aren't spent incorrectly or they will be caught.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's not ignorance. Ignorance is not an excuse anymore in New Mexico.
Love it. I mean, not that you had to do that much work for it, but you know what I mean. Good. Thank you. Viewing. Okay. Reviewing invoices as they come in. All right, so lots of things that are working, and some of them, we learn the hard way, but at least there's learning there. Understanding patients, good. Yeah, it's hard, and you're supposed to have like the idea that lots of people know what's going on is important because when you have the one person in the fiscal office who knows everything, I can think of so many situations. The person gets sick, they take another job, all the same things that happen in every other role happen there. And then you are really starting from scratch if there hasn't been somebody else. What do they call that when you're building up another person at the same time? Not duplication of services, but you're
cross-trained.
yes, you got to cross train, right? Yes. And I'm thinking of like the more formal terminology where you have, not just one person who knows things, but let's cross train. And cross training. Great. Thank you, everyone. And then where do you need more help? So what are the questions? Oh, redundancy. Yes. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Cross training, redundancy. Thank you for spelling it too, because I wouldn't have gotten it. All right. So what are the needs that you still have? So onboarding process.
Yes, we
Yeah.
talked about, I mentioned to them, I like how you had that scenario up about like, is this compliant or non-compliant? I would like
Mhm.
to see more scenarios like that,
Yeah.
just because I've never seen it before. And that gives me an opportunity to be flexible with the scenarios. And then the other portion is even maybe SIG Network could support like the fiscal or procurement side. I just found out what the definition of procurement was literally like 6 weeks ago. And so it was mentioned in my group, like if we had training, and I was like, no, because a few weeks ago, our agency emailed us and told us that they haven't had a training in 5 years. So me and people
Wow.
from 5 years ago are going to be in a training in 2 weeks. And so
Wow.
this entire time I've just been like Googling stuff like ChatGPT and like trying to like self-taught
Yeah.
teach.
Yeah.
And I still feel lost in the meetings because of the language and not really understanding how
Yeah.
these processes work. So even though I
Yeah.
hate numbers, I'm glad that we're having this
Yeah.
conversation because this is something completely out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. And once you get comfortable with it, you don't dislike it anymore, right? Because
Correct.
it's a known uh quantity. Um, yeah, yeah. So the onboarding is so important. And you start to really appreciate the federal requirements for the written policies and procedures and description of roles and all those things, because that would be part of onboarding, right? Here's I love an org chart, and I know you do too, right? So I love an org chart. Like, okay, who does what? Where can I find them?
Yep.
What's happening? Yeah. But I love the scenarios to practice. That's great. What else?
Um, Possibly SIG helping us with that onboarding. Like,
Mm,
I don't know how that will work, but like you knew when I was new, like when I came here. So
yeah,
like redirecting me to something or some type of support
yeah,
when you're in when I'm, may not get it from somewhere else.
yeah, absolutely.
And I have to
We
second
can
that,
add that. Mhm.
Jennifer.
Yeah.
I know, you've been working with us, and Alicia's been at it forever, but she's retiring like in July, and we're dealing with the same
Mm,
thing. It's like a lot of people have this knowledge, and they're like the gatekeepers of the institutional knowledge, but then when they're gone,
right.
there's nothing. And we don't even have any training to go from. And
Mm,
so as state agencies, you would think or hope that we have that, but if
right.
SIG Network or somebody could just do a 101, some kind of training for us to at least go on. And then we
Hmm.
know in coming to our higher ups at an agency level,
Hmm.
what to ask for, in terms of support and furthering
Yep.
knowledge.
Good. We can do that. Excellent. Even if the training is quarterly, can so consider quarterly training. Got it. Anything else?
This is something that I would suggest to Jennifer. I know I feel like we're the lab rats for this, but I would definitely say having the processes and procedures written down, because that was another thing that was not there wasn't any.
Hmm.
They have to be. So I would say for anyone, if you're going to make sure the grant and everything that you're doing is aligned, that has to happen.
Hmm.
And
It's a
Jennifer helps. And Jennifer helps with that.
You saw
So
that it is a requirement, right?
yeah,
It's a
yep,
requirement for all of
yeah,
our grantees. So now
yeah,
you can say, but it's required. You have
yeah.
to have it. Good. Okay. Well, this was great. Very helpful. I think we can probably use this group's wisdom to build some of this because you know what you feel like you need. And so we can start drafting some things together. Um, Thank you, Danielle. I have been doing this for almost 20 years. So one would hope I picked up a few things along the way. But I'm lucky because David Gardino, Sung Young An, and Nita Vermeer are all fantastic. And we do tend to complete each other. So
Yeah, you're
it's
welcome. I like that I can just
great.
ask you anything and you're like the human version of ChatGPT. I mean, it really doesn't take long. And so I was bragging about you last week. I was like, man, I hope she doesn't leave me because I'm really going to be out of it, because you just know
Yeah,
connections. It's just like you're the fairy godmother, like, so I appreciate that.
thank you. It's
You're
very kind of
welcome.
you. All right. So that is what we have for today. Oh, we're right on time. So I just want to leave you with some like happy, tranquil images since we've been talking about some of the things that can be a little harder about managing a grant, right? So we have our next session planned. We know some of the needs of the group. We'll start working on things But if something comes to you in the meantime, just send it our way, just an email, whatever. It can be bulleted, doesn't even have to be a nice sentence, because it's just so much easier once we practically know, or what we know, once we know what you need in practice, is what I'm trying to say. All right. Thank you, John, for organizing. Thank you, Sung Young, Anita, and David for helping with the subgroups. And we will see you in 2 months for this group.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, thanks.